You sneeze in the middle of a job interview. Your eyes water, your nose burns. The interviewer pauses, smiles, says bless you, and moves on. You barely notice it happening. It is a reflex. It is nothing. But 2,000 years ago, that same sneeze could have ended a war. In ancient Rome, a sneeze was never just a sneeze. It was a message, sent from somewhere you couldn't see, arriving at a moment you couldn't control. The gods, Romans believed, spoke in small interruptions: a stumble, a bird call, a sudden itch in your nose, and of everything on that list, the sneeze carried the most weight. Why would a reflex become a religious event? To understand it, you have to picture how fragile Roman certainty actually was. There was no science of germs yet, no allergy seasons explained by pollen counts. When your body did something sudden and involuntary, there was only one available explanation. Something outside of you had reached in and touched you. And if something unseen could touch your body, Romans reasoned it could also be trying to tell you something. The Roman writer Pliny the Elder documented this obsession directly. In his sprawling encyclopedia, Natural History, he asked a question that had apparently puzzled even him. Why do we bless a person the moment they sneeze? He didn't dismiss the custom as silly superstition, he treated it as a genuine mystery, one old enough that nobody could remember where it started. And he noted something almost funny about it. Even the emperor Tiberius, a man famous for despising social rituals, for retreating from people whenever he could, still demanded the blessing, every time, even in his own carriage. Think about that for a second. A man who hated human contact, who avoided crowds, who ruled through distance and superstition, still could not let a sneeze pass unacknowledged. If the most antisocial man in Rome enforced this rule, what does that tell you about how deep it ran? It tells you the fear wasn't really about manners, it was about danger. Because a sneeze to the Roman mind was your body briefly losing control, and a body without control was a body exposed. Ancient physicians already believed the head housed something essential, something almost sacred, the seat of breath and spirit. A sneeze forced that breath out violently, unexpectedly. For one instant, your spirit was leaving you faster than you could stop it. The blessing wasn't politeness, it was an emergency patch, a verbal shield thrown up before whatever had escaped could be followed by something worse. The Roman writer Petronius Arbiter captured this anxiety in his comic novel, The Satyricon. In one scene, a sneeze sets off a small ripple of formal greetings, a chain reaction of people responding almost automatically. The way you might flinch at a loud noise before you've even registered what caused it. It wasn't optional. It wasn't a kindness. It was closer to an instinct, drilled into people so early that skipping it would have felt like walking past someone bleeding and saying nothing. Now picture the version of this that actually mattered. Not a sneeze at dinner, a sneeze at the wrong moment. Say you were a Roman general about to leave for battle. Your legions are assembled, the trumpets are ready, and just before you give the order, someone near you sneezes? Do you proceed? For many Romans, the answer depended entirely on timing, direction, and circumstance. A sneeze at the start of a journey, a wedding, or a business deal was treated as a genuine warning sign, not a throwaway detail. Some Romans paused entire plans because of it. A merchant might delay signing a contract. A traveler might wait a day before setting out on the road. Ignoring that warning, tradition held, was inviting the gods' disapproval directly onto your plans. Take the story of the consul Gaius Flaminius. Before one of the worst military disasters in Roman history, at Lake Trasimene, Flaminius reportedly brushed past a string of unfavorable signs. His horse stumbled. The sacred chickens used to divine the will of the gods before battle were refusing to eat, a bad sign in itself. He ignored all of it and marched forward anyway. He lost, badly. Thousands of his soldiers died in an ambush, and Flaminius himself was killed on the field. Romans later pointed back to that morning and said the warnings had been there all along. He simply chose not to listen. Or take the story of Licinius Crassus, one of the richest men in Roman history, preparing to sail for a military campaign in the east. As he was leaving, a street vendor selling figs called out his wares, shouting the word for figs across the docks. But in Latin, that phrase sounded almost identical to a warning. Beware! Don't go! Crassus sailed anyways. He was killed on that campaign, and Rome treated the fig seller's shout, in hindsight, as an omen nobody had taken seriously enough. Do you see the pattern forming? It wasn't really about sneezes, or chickens, or even fig vendors. It was about a society that had built an entire early warning system out of the ordinary noise of daily life. Somewhere in that noise, Romans believed the gods were leaving clues. Miss the clue, and the consequences were yours to live with, or die. A modern classicist, Sarah Rudin, who had translated much of this ancient material into English, has pointed out how naturally these blessings have slid into everyday speech. So automatic that Romans barely registered them as a religious act anymore. They had simply become reflex layered on top of reflex. Your body sneezes, your mouth blesses. Neither one required conscious thought. Which raises an uncomfortable question. How much of what feels automatic to you today is actually inherited superstition, just stripped of the fear that built it? Because you still say bless you. Today, in a world that fully understands what a sneeze is, you know it's a reflex, a nerve signal, air forced out at a high speed to clear irritants from your nasal passage. There is no God involved. There is no spirit trying to escape your skull, and yet the words still come out of your mouth almost without your permission, the same way they came out of a Roman driver riding next to Tiberius 2,000 years ago. Somewhere between then and now, the fear disappeared, but the ritual survived. There's something strange about that, though, isn't there? An entire civilization convinced itself that a small burst of air from your nose could carry a message from beyond human sight. They built rules around it. They stopped journeys because of it. Generals lost their lives partly because they refused to respect it. And yet, somehow, the only piece of that entire belief system to survive into your daily life is the tiny automatic response at the end of it. Not the fear, just the phrase. Maybe that's how most ancient beliefs actually die. Not all at once, but piece by piece, until only the outer shell is left standing, hollow, harmless, repeated out of habit rather than conviction. So the next time you sneeze in a meeting, or on a train, or in the middle of a sentence you were halfway through, and someone automatically says bless you without even looking up from what they were doing, remember that phrase you used to guard against. Remember the general who ignored the warning signs and marched to his death anyways. Remember the merchant who postponed a deal because of a single interruption. Remember Tiberius, alone in his carriage, unwilling to skip a ritual he couldn't explain and didn't even seem to want. You've inherited the reflex. You just lost the reason. And maybe, somewhere in that gap between the habit and its original meaning, is the real answer to why you still can't let a sneeze pass by in silence.